Okay, so let's get started with Python. I will tell you the brief introduction about the Python. I'll not go more theoretical into the introduction. So Python, it was developed by Guido van Rossum in 1991. It was released to the public in 1991. So this is the person who developed Python in 1991, and it is an open source language, which means that we need not to pay anything for this. I'm audible, right? Okay. It is an open source language. We can download it directly from the Google and work on it. We need not to pay anything for this Python. So Python can be used in various ways. I mean, for the web applications or the data science, we can use it in many places. It is used in web applications or the to connect to databases, or uh, write data science algorithms, data science or machine learning. We can use it in many applications, but we can focus on what is required for our data engineering. So there are a number of things we can do with the Python, but we'll deal with only what is required for our data engineering course. And also it has a very rich libraries. When I say libraries, uh, there are some inbuilt functions which can be imported and used directly. If don't worry if you don't understand now, I will explain you while working with the libraries. So it has a if you want to print some calendar or if you want to get some dates, you have a default library called calendar. From that you can get whatever date you need or whatever the date functions, any date functions you need, you can get it. This is the simple example of a library. So uh, so coming to any programming language, it will be either compiler language or a interpreter language. So I'll say what is compiler. Compiler is nothing but reading all the code at once and execute it. And interpreter is like read one by one line and execute each line at a time. So Python is both. I'll tell you how it acts as a both. Python is both a interpreter language and a compiler language. So when I say compiler language, whatever the code or the program I have written in a file, it will read all of them at once. I mean, it will compile everything at once. And interpreter means while compiling the code, it acts as a compiler, but while executing the code, it acts as an interpreter. It will execute line by line, and if there is any error in any of the lines, the code will break and the execution will stop. I will explain you with the example also. So Python is also called a dynamically typed language. Dynamically typed language, which means that so in any programming language, if you take C or Java or anything else, so in that if you are defining any variable a equal to 10 or b equal to 20 or some string values, whatever we have to define, before defining that variable we have to declare is it a integer or a string or anything else. The data type we have to define. But in Python, we no need to define anything. The Python will automatically detect the data types based on the values we have given. So this is a dynamically typed language. Uh, and then this is a brief introduction. We don't need to go much details into the theoretical things. I will show you directly in practical. So first of all, in order to download Python, you have to go to python.org website. So go to this website, come to downloads. Here it will show the latest version available for Windows. My system is Windows, so it is showing the this is the version for Windows. If you have Mac or other platforms, you can go with your system requirements and then click on the download. So Python is already downloaded in my system. I will show you how to check that. Here, open the command prompt. Just type Python. So My available version is Python 3.10.11. So here is one more thing I wanted to tell you. Python has different versions, but the major versions were Python 2 and Python 3. Python 3.1 is there, 3.2 is there, like that. There are so many versions, but there is very little changes. We no need to explicitly know also. But between the Python 2 and Python 3, there were syntax changes as well. So nowadays, I mean, most of the projects they are using Python 3 only. So in our course also, we will be covering only Python 3. Python 2 is also similar, but there is a little syntax difference. I will tell you whenever there is a difference in while we are using the while we are writing the program. So now Python is already installed. So if you don't want to install Python, that also we can do it. If we don't want to install Python, but I want to work with Python, we can do that as well online. Go to any browser, online browser, and Python online compiler. So this is the Python online compiler. Here you can write your program and click on the run button. It will work same as the whatever you have installed in your system. But with the advanced level of Python, like when using libraries or when working with files, we will not be able to use it here, because here you will not be able to save the files or load the files from this online compiler. That's why we have to use the downloaded version of Python when working with some advanced concepts. Okay, once you install Python your system, that installation will be very easy. You just have to go with the dialog box. I mean, after installation, double click on that, right? Go next, 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 and finish it. That's all. You no need to do anything extra. That will work. Here, after installation of the Python, if you open this search box and see IDLE, you will see this one, IDLE, Integrated Development Environment. You can open this. You can execute Python code in a number of ways. I will show you all of them. So this is the IDLE environment. This is like an interactive console. This is like a console where we can write the code, and for each line it will give the output immediately. But if you want to write it as a program, you have to open a new file and save that file and execute the program. This is one way of executing the program. We will write a simple program now. Like if you want to print something, just print hello world, the basic program in any language, the print hello world. If we want to write that in Java or the C language or any other languages, we need to write at least 4 or 5 lines. But in Python, we just need to write one line, just a plain English. There are no prerequisites to learn Python. It is very simple. It is like a plain English only. Even if you don't know the Python, if you are reading through the Python code, you will be able to understand what it is doing. So print hello world. First, I'll write it here. This is an interactive console. It will give the output immediately as soon as we write it. See, it has given the hello world. This is the simple program to print anything. Just we have to put it in double quotes or single quotes. Single quotes or double quotes works the same way in Python, other than some special cases. Those special cases I'll explain you in detail. See, this double quotes and single quotes works the same. If you want to print anything in the Python, you can just enclose it in double quotes or the single quotes, and it will just print it. So it is as easy as that. But in other languages, we have to initiate it or declare stdio.h if it is C, or in uh, if it is Java, we have to write some public main void, something like that. But here, you don't need to write anything, just zero first. So this is one way of execution, and I will execute the same in this online compiler. Alright, welcome to Python class. I'll run this. See, the code executed successfully. Whatever I have written inside the double quotes, it is executed. This code execution successful. This is set by this online compiler. I did not do anything. This is the online compiler. They have set this way. Don't worry about that. Next. So other than these two ways, executing online or executing through the IDLE environment, we can write it in any notepad. First, let me complete this IDLE. So now I have written it in the interactive console. I just want to save it as a file. I want to save this file. Let us say this file contains some 10 lines of code and I want to execute this. Let us save this file. So whatever we are saving, that should be saved with .py. Now we have opened with IDLE environment. That's why it is by default showing us Python files. So whatever it is, we just have to put .py as the extension. Just like for Excel files, we will put .xlsx as the extension. Same for Python, we have to use .py. Then only it will be considered as a Python file, Python executable file. Now I'm saving it. So now this is saved. The file is saved on my desktop. You can run it from here. Just click run module. See, from the desktop intro1.py, it has executed the program and has given the output. Other than this way, this is a IDLE environment. So I don't want to execute here. I want to execute in my command prompt here. If I want to execute from here, we can do that as well. So first we have to go to this path. Wherever our file is located, we have to go to that path. Sorry. This is the path where my file is saved. CD. I think few people might be aware of it to change the directories. This is CD and the path. You have to give the path of the file where it is saved. Here I have to write Python space my file name intro.1. Intro.1. This is my file name. See, it has given the hello world. Like this, you can execute it from anywhere. And also, you no need to write only in IDLE. You can download PyCharm or any Visual Studio Code or anything else. You can write it anywhere. I'll just want to write it in a notepad. You can just even write in a notepad or a Word document, and still you will be able to execute. Here I'll write the same program. Print welcome to Python class. I will save this. I'll save it in the desktop. Intro. There should not be spaces inside in the file name. This is not mandatory, but if there are file names, the execution will become little. Uh, we have to follow some extra steps if we give spaces here. I will tell you what to do. Intro notepad dot. See, here I have written in a notepad. That's why it is saving as type dot txt. So here we need to select all files and then save it as dot py. Sorry, any questions? Okay. Here we need to save it as .py. Anywhere you need, it is a mandatory thing to save it as a .py file. Otherwise, it will not be treated as a Python file. So I'm saving it on desktop with the intro notepad.py. Here we don't like the IDLE environment. This is IDLE environment which comes along with Python. So that's why we have all the options here. run option is available, and other options are also available. This is a notepad which will not come with all those features, but still we want to execute this program. So similarly, we can go to command prompt. I think I have closed it. Oh, no, it is open. So in the same path, I have stored that file. Now I will execute that file. Python intro notepad.py. See, we have written welcome to Python class inside that file. So it has given the same thing. So wherever you write or save it as a .py file and go to that particular location and then Python space that file name that will execute the file. But the prerequisite is that in order to execute like this, Python should be already installed in our systems. So if the Python is not available, it says Python not found, something like that. Okay. Now for our course, I will use the IDLE environment only. That would be easier for running the code. I'll use this environment. So now we have written the simple hello world program. Now I want to give some variables. As I told, like Python is a dynamically typed language. Python is a dynamically typed language. I'll tell you what the meaning of this is. Dynamically typed language. So I want to write some text, but if I run this program, it will say invalid syntax. Because this is not a syntax, I just want to write some notes. I have written it here, so I don't want to execute this. So in order to comment any lines in the Python, you have to do it like this. Hash, put a hash in before that line and save it, run it. So it has given the hello world program. So as I said, Python is both a compiler and interpreter. Uh, Without this hash, it has given the error in the second line. So it says invalid syntax error and it is also highlighting the position. In this line, it is giving an error, which means that it is compiling all the code. It has checked the first line. So first line has no errors and it has come to the second line. Second line, it is not able to understand what it is and it has given the syntax error. So it is reading all the code at once. I write 100 lines of code and there is some syntax error in line 101. Then also it will give that error. So this is the meaning of the compiler. It is compiling the code and making it ready for execution. So now I will comment it. I will comment it and run it. So now this line is just for readability purpose. Whoever reads this file, for them to understand what I am doing. This is just for the understanding purpose. It has nothing to do with the programming. So dynamically typed language, I will tell you. Now I want to give the value of a as 10. So in other languages, if you want to declare some variables, we have to declare a as integer, a as string, or a as some float values. Here we no need to do anything. Just I will give a equal to 10. And I want to print that value, a value. It is giving that a value. So I want to check the type of that, I mean the data type of that. So to check the data type, we have to use type of that variable name. So type of that variable name we see. So a equal to 10. I did not specify either it is a integer or a string or a float value. But I said Python automatically detects whatever is given based on the input. See, here it is giving class of integer. So a is a integer value. Now I will give b equal to some 10.67. I'll print the value of b. B value is 10.67 and I want to get the type of this as well, type of B. So type of B is float. I did not tell it is a float value, but by default based on the given input, it has understood it is a float. Similarly with the string, I will say Python C equal to Python type of C. Type of C is string. So even though I did not specify the data types, Python is able to understand by default based on the given input values. So this is called dynamically typed language. By looking at the dynamic values, whatever we are giving, it is changing its data type. Here we'll see that again. So now A equal to, if you want to write it as a program, we'll write it like this. Print, I just want to print the value of that variable along with the type. I'll execute it till here first. So if you see here, it has given the first line as well. Hello world. And this is commented, nothing to do with that. And the next is print. Print A. A value is 10 and its data type is integer. Similar, now I have given A. I'll give B equal to something else. Python. C equal to, I'll give 10 but in strings, either single quotes or double quotes. D equal to some number in double quotes. Now I will print all of this. Print B comma type of B. Okay. B C D. So if you see here, A is integer, value of A is having value 10 and it is integer. Next B value is Python and its type is string. If you look at C, number C is 10 but I have enclosed it in single quotes. That's why it is given as string. Even though if it is a number or a string or anything, if we enclose it in single quotes or double quotes, Python will consider that as a string. There is no single quote or double quote for A. That's why it is considered as integer. But for C and D, whether it is single quote or double quote, Python will understand the same. So C value is 10, but enclosed in single quotes. That's why it is a string. Same for 456. D value enclosed in double quotes. It is a string. Even though it looks like a number, it is enclosed in quotes. That's why it is a string. So now I have given the value of A as 10. After doing some operations, I decided to change the value of A. I want to change the value of A to SQL. Again, I will check. So I wanted to write some print statement here. Uh, Print value of A after updating. So if you want to print some text characters or anything, you can do it like this. You can write multiple values inside a print statement. Here, if you see, we are printing the value of B along with that data type separated by a comma. If you don't give comma, it will be a syntax error. Comma means these are two separate entities printed. Uh, yeah, your question, Ravi, are you covering demo part for data engineering? I see you're just going through only Python. I will cover everything required for data engineering, but without basics, we'll not be able to understand the further things. Hope I answered your question. Demo part, if you demo I have already given the last day on Saturday. You can reach out to the faculty, you can reach out to the institute, they will give you the recording. Demo I have already covered. Okay, if you want, coming back, if you want to print some text values along with the variable value, you can do it like this. Now see, I want to tell you one thing here. If initially I have assigned it 10, later I have modified it to SQL. So if I print A now, which value will be given? Let us see that. So this till here, it is all the previous code, whatever we have written. Now the value of A after updating. So after updating, what is it? It is SQL. So for the same variable, if you are updating, initially I have given A equal to 10 and later I have given A equal to SQL. So the latest value it will take. It will take the latest value. The older values will be overwritten. Now again, here I have written A equal to SQL, and if I now again I want to update this A equal to some number. Let us see what will be the value of A. See, now it is 567. So like this, if for the same variable, if the values are keep on changing, the latest value will be stored. So in between, if before updating, if you are printing or doing any operations, it will take this value. So after this step, if you are referring the A, then it will take this value. Uh, see, in this line, we have printed, that is the output of this line. Here the value of A is 10 and it is integer. But at the final line, last line, the value of A after updating is 567. So this is how the variables can be declared without defining the data types. This is the meaning of the dynamically typed language. It will understand by default based on the given input values. So now I will come to the compiler and interpreter. So compiler or interpreter. Compiler I have told you. So it is executing all the lines, and if there is any syntax, it is compiling all the lines, and if there is any syntax error, it is giving that syntax error. Now, wantedly, I'll write some syntax error. Print compile. So it says missing parenthesis. Did you mean? It is suggesting. So do you want to write like this? Okay. I don't want to. Yes. I'll write it like this. Print compile. So before this line itself, I will write some error. I want to give some error. Like A value is 10 and C value is also 10. So even though C value is 10, it is a string, and this is an integer. Here we can see one thing. A equal to 10 and C equal to 10, but as a string. I want to add these two numbers. 1 second, sorry. Okay, sorry. So first C. C value is 10, and again I want to give B equal to 100. Now I want to first add A plus B, then we'll see later. A plus B. A value is 10, B value is 100, so it will give 100 plus 10 is 110. This is good, this is what we expect also. Now I want to add A and C. A plus C. So it is giving some error. Unsupported operand type for integer and string. So normally without Python also, if we consider maths, we can add numbers to numbers. but numbers cannot be added to strings. Let us say 10 plus Python. It will not understand what, there is no meaning also. 10 plus Python, what is it? There is no meaning. Similarly, here also it is giving the same error. So the first value of A is integer and value of C is string. So we are not able to add integer plus string. So that's why it is giving error. This is some logical error. I want to do the same thing here. Print A plus C. A value is 10 and C value is also 10 but as a string. So this will give the last line. One second. Last line I want to give syntax error and previous line I want to give some logical error. I'll save this code and run it. See, first it is compiling. Though there is a logical error in A plus C, it is not giving that error. So first we will correct this one. First it is compiling. I just wanted to tell that even though there is an error at this line, it is not giving that logical error because if we execute, then only it will give the error. If without executing, it won't give any error. But the compiling, it will check all the syntax. It has read all the lines of this and there is no syntax error anywhere. Just at the final line, it has syntax error. Now I will execute it. See, now it has given the error at line number 26. This is the line number 26. See, print A plus C. Even if you don't know, here there are no line numbers, will not be able to see which line is it. But it will give at what line it is giving error, print A plus C. So this is the line and it is giving the same error. Operand type plus is not supported for integer and string. So this is the interpreter. It means after the compiling, it is reading, executing one by one line. Executed first line, this is good. Executed next line, it is good. So likewise, it is executing all the lines. Here I will write A plus A. It won't give any error now. A is 10, again A is 10. So it will give 20 as the output. Print A plus A. Okay, here I have updated the values 567. So 567 plus 567, it is 1134. After that, I have printed compile. So this is the interpreter. Now, let us say one more thing here. There are two lines which is a error one, which gives error. C plus D. So we can add numbers and numbers, strings and strings also we can add it. Here C value is 10 and I will write one D B equal to Python. C plus D. It will give string concatenation. C value is 10 and D value is Python. So it is printing side by side those two values. Here also C and D. C is 10, D is 456 but as a strings. So it will print 10, 456, 10456. It will print side by side. So A plus A is 20. The expected output is 20. And A plus B is error because one is integer and another is string. It is an error. And C plus D. C plus D is string. 10456 is the expected output. Here we have error at two lines. Sorry, not two lines. A plus B, this is error. Expected error here. And also I will write some error here. I'll write E equal to some F. Okay, I'll write A plus F here. A is 567. So A is 10 here, but at the final here A is 567. It will take 567 here. So here it is also expected error. These two lines are the error lines and the others will execute fine. But as I said, Compiler means it will all compile at once and say if there is any syntax error that comes under the compiler part. Interpreter. So if there is error in this line, it will stop the execution here itself. It will not go to next line and say there is an error here. Let us run this code. See here it is giving the error. Print a plus f. A plus f is a error. That is correct. But there are some lines after that also. A plus a, there is no error. This is no error. But a plus b is another error. So it won't give that error because this is a interpreter language. It has compiled everything and now it is interpreting. Interpreting means executing one by one line. So it is giving this error. Name f is not defined. Sorry, a plus e. Hmm. Now it is giving unsupported operand for integer and string at print a plus e. There is an error here also, but it is not giving that error. This is the meaning of the interpreter. It will execute one line at a time, and if there is an error anywhere, it will stop the execution. Hope you understand this interpreter and the compiler parts. So data types in now come to the data types in Python. Integer, string, float. These are the default data types every language has. Integer, string, float. These are the default data types. Other than this, explicitly Python has list, tuple, dictionary, and set. These are the four data types specific to Python. Integer and float, these are the direct, I mean numbers, nothing more on that. These are directly the numbers, but string has some methods on that. String has some methods on that. I will tell you what it is. We will cover these data types and then we'll go to loops. So loops we have for loop, if is not a loop, for loop, while loop. There are two loops in Python. One is for loop and the other is while loop. And next conditional statements, if and else. So these are all comes under the basic concepts. So we will cover the basic data types now, integer and float. Anyways, we have seen nothing much in it, but still. So now I want to tell you one more thing here. Here, these are all not, this is all not the Python program or the Python code. I mean, till this is the notes, whatever we are writing. This is not part of the code execution. If we run this code, it will give error. For the syntax error, it will give. Let us see. One second, let me save this again. This is all not part of the code. So we should be writing it. I want to comment all of this. Let us here print end of the program. We will remove. I will comment out the error lines. See, here it is saying integer is not defined. This integer. This is not a syntax error. That's why it did not give error in the compilation part time. It is assuming these are some variables or the values. That's why it did not give any error. But we know this is not a part of the code. This is some notes we are writing. So in order to comment multiple lines at a time, we have to use triple quotes. Either single or double. Anything is fine. So if we write it like this, triple quotes, inside that we can write any number of lines. If it is more than one line, we can comment out like this. To comment multiple lines, we use triple quotes. Now execute this. Print is not defined. Python is also case sensitive. I mean, uppercase and lowercase, it will be different. Now I have written capital P, it did not work because Python is defined to have all small letters in the print statement. So end of the program. So the same thing, I can write it in single triple quotes also. That is not a problem. So it has executed everything. So triple quotes, either single or double, used for multi-line commenting. So even this is all the notes we are writing and we commented out because this is not part of the code. Now here also if you want to comment any part of the code. So initially we have discussed the print statements. Now that print statements topic is completed and we are switching to some other topic. So in that case also, if you don't want to execute some lines of the code, we can do it like this. This is one part of the comment. This is one set of the lines which we have commented out. And here we are writing some print statements. Now A is not defined. We will comment out that. C plus D is also not defined. We'll comment out that. Just print compile. So these are set of the lines I have commented and below also I have commented all of them. Now the only line which is left for execution is this one. Because other lines also I have put it in a hash. Now I want to run it. See, now it has given only two lines. One is compile and other is end of the program. Compile is from this line and print is from this last line. Okay, this is how we need to comment out in Python. Even though this is a valid code, but still we don't want to execute it. That's why I have commented it out. So any questions still here? Okay. Now we will check what are all the mathematical operations possible on any given integer. So again, a equal to 100, b equal to 200, okay, and c equal to some number. So if you want to add all these numbers, just do a plus b plus c. I will comment out rest of the code. And one more thing is, if you're starting the comments with the double quotes, you have to end with the double quotes. If you're starting with single quotes, end with single quotes. Now see, here I have started with the double quotes, but here it should not be there. But ending with single triple quotes, let us see how it will treat. So it is saying unterminated triple quote string literal detected at line 94. Because we are starting with this double quotes, but ending with this single one. That's why it is giving error. Now I will run. Now I will execute this. So this is all commented out. So it is not executed. It has given only the last output, A plus B plus C. 100 plus 200 is 300. Next 67. It is total 367. So mathematical operations, you can do it simply. A minus B, A plus B, A by B, anything. I'll do all of them. If you want to multiply two numbers, A star B, you can multiply all the numbers also into C, into D. Any number we can multiply. Print B divided by A. First, we'll execute it till here. So A plus B plus C is 367. A minus B, 100 minus 200 is minus 100. A multiplied by B. 100 into 200 is 20,000. And B divided by A. B is 200, A is 100. 200 by 100 is 2. This is fine. I wanted to tell something on the division part. I'll write it here in the interactive console. A equal to 50. B equal to 3. I'll write 3. A divided by B. See, it is giving all the decimals. Just A slash B, it is giving all the decimals. I think here we have some 10 or 11, whatever it is. It is giving all the decimals. Now I'll write A double slash B. It is giving only the integer part of the quotient. So this is called float quotient. I'll write here print A double slash B. This is called float quotient, which means that it is taking only the integer part. Only integer part it is giving. Float quotient. Next. A, if I want to see the remainder, after dividing A by B, I want to see remainder. Remainder can be seen with modulo symbol. This is percentile symbol. We call it as modulus. A modulus B. It will give 2. Because when we divide 50 with the 3, 16 3 is 48 and remainder is 2. That's why it has given 2. Print A modulo B. This gives remainder. So if you want to write comments, we should write with hash. So this is how we do all the mathematical operations. Let us stop here. Let me know if you have any questions. Okay, I will stop recording.